Good afternoon, everybody. How's it going? Welcome back. It's Miles, and welcome to the new house. This is it. Everything's moved in, and yeah, there's nothing else that needs to be moved at all. And that's a complete and utter lie. Everything. Well, we got a lot of stuff moved over here, but I still have like all my guitars over at the other spot. And so it's a drawn out process, but it's a process that's going. So soon. But I wanted to get in touch with you guys for today because I figured I had a topic to talk to you about that's worth talking about. And that is the topic of changing the strings on your guitar and how important it is to do so. Recently, I played a show over in Teaneck at Debonair Music Hall at the farewell show for my students' band Lunatic Fringe. And it was a really cool show. You know, like I've seen those kids grow up from just like tiny babies into these grown adults, and you know, it was really nice to be able to be a part of the whole farewell proceedings. However, because I was so busy with trying to get everything situated with packing up my stuff, packing up everything in the house, getting my kids acclimated to the idea of potentially living in a new location and everything, I didn't really get any time to change the strings on my guitars before the show. And normally, I'm the guy who is like adamant about changing the strings before every gig, every show, every event, anything ever. Change your strings, go into it with fresh strings. And that's the point that I've always stressed to all my students. Like, if you have a show coming up, put on new strings. Don't go into the show with strings that are from the colonial times, that are made of skin at this point. You know, there's certainly plenty of benefits to having new strings in your guitar on a regular basis anyway. You know, the playability is at 100%, tuning is going to be stable, and, you know, you're just not playing through rust and dirt and old skin. So that's a huge win. However, because I didn't have any time to do so before this show, I kind of went into it thinking, what's the worst that could happen? It's one show. And boy, was I wrong. Now, the main issue that I had with this show was that both guitars that I was playing have what are called floating bridges on them. And if you don't know what a floating bridge is, it's similar to the bridge that's on a Telecaster or a Stratocaster, typical guitar. Holds the strings in place over the pickups to the top of the neck. If you have a floating bridge, what that means is that the bridge itself is within a rounded out cavity of the body of the guitar. And on one side you have the tension of the strings pulling it forward, but what holds it in place so it's even is a set of springs that are on the back side of the body of the guitar. So when you have a floating bridge, it relies on the tension of the strings to counteract the tension of the springs that are on the opposite side of the body of the guitar. And what this allows you to have is the ability to use the tremolo arm on this guitar to bend the bridge forward or to bend upward, and then bring the guitar back to its regular pitch without having to worry about going completely out of tune. You'll also see on most of these guitars they have what are called locking nuts, where this top portion of the neck of the guitar has some Allen screws that press down pads that hold the string in place. These are very popular during the 80s, and they're still popular today, you just don't see as much of it. Now, the issue that you can run into is that if you break a string, you now have lost tension that you had pulling the bridge forward on the front of the guitar. And now that's allowing there to be more tension pulling the bridge backward on the underside of the guitar from the springs. It's almost like a seesaw in a way, where if you're sitting on a seesaw across from your friend and you guys are just sitting evenly weighted on both sides, there's no problem. But if your friend decides suddenly that they want to take a phone call and they get up off the seesaw abruptly, guess what's going to happen to you? You're going to fall down. You're going to get knocked backward. And that's essentially what's going on with the strings in this case when you break a string on a floating bridge. And that's exactly what happened to me. And the biggest problem when it comes to breaking a string in this instance is that there's no real way to recover from it. Depending on the gauge of the strings that you're using and depending on the brand of bridge that you have in your guitar, you can get away with at least finishing a song. But in most cases, depending on the string that you break, it's game over from there, and it's just a matter of trying to find another guitar to grab in a timely fashion. See, I've broken strings on this guitar when I've played gigs out before, but because the bridge here is stationary and is on the body of the guitar, if I break a string, I can still get through whatever song I'm playing. The biggest issue in that case would be just trying to figure out how to play around this now non-usable string. Which, whatever, no biggie. So the issue that I ran into at this show, I broke a string. You could tell that I broke a string because my guitar went completely out of tune. And so the next thing I had to do was go and grab another guitar. I happen to have my other guitar sitting against the amp behind me. So I ran over and grabbed that real quick, put it on my shoulder, and started playing. But the problem is that guitar was in a different tuning than the one that I had just broken a string on. So this became another issue of trying to figure out how to play this current song that I started off with one guitar on and now play it on a different one. It's in a different tuning. And doing that on the fly, which we can get into how to do that, but I'll save that for another episode. But all in all, it was a really awkward scenario and easily could have been avoided. The main thing is just overall, when it comes to your musical equipment, it's important just to do general upkeep and maintenance on everything. Make sure everything's in working order. It's the same thing if you own a car. You periodically go to the garage, do a tune-up, make sure that everything's working, get your tires rotated, all that stuff. In the case of the guitar, you make sure that your strings are changed on a regular basis so that they're not like brown and disgusting and dirty. Make sure that you just take care of the other components on the guitar as well. You know, cleaning the neck, just making sure that the body of the guitar is clean. I know what happens to me periodically is I get a buildup of dirt from my forearm on this top area of the guitar. So just going through and just trying to clean everything, it definitely is beneficial in the long run. Because I don't know about you guys, but I don't have money to just go out and buy new guitars whenever I break one. So the best thing I can do for myself is just continue to make sure that the stuff that I have is in proper working order. So yeah, guys, I guess that's kind of like a PSA for you about the importance of changing your strings. Sort of like a don't be a hero story, because you don't want to be that guy who has to abruptly stop the song now to go and change guitar strings, anything of that nature. It's a simple problem that's easily taken care of. So just be mindful out there. That's all I got for now. If you aren't already, consider following me on social media. All that stuff is down there, and I'd love to get in touch with you. If you ever have any questions or anything, hit me up over there. If you like what I do with this channel, consider supporting me over on my Patreon page. I'm going to be updating that real soon. And other than that, I will see you guys very soon. Take care. Keep playing. Peace.